Welcome back to Drive Through Penalty. I'm Sean. I'm here with my father, Craig. And this week we're at the Hungaroring in Hungary, just outside of Budapest. It's one of F1's historical tracks. Debuted in 1986, and it is now known or considered Monaco without walls. The track is 70 laps, 4.38 kilometers long, 2 DRS zones, and it's a tricky one.
So Sean, before we go any farther, yesterday I was looking at our boarding passes to go to Hungary, and I'm going, what the heck are we doing going to Hungary? Like, there's no race in Germany, there's no race in France, but we're going to Hungary. So I spent a little time kind of figuring out, because I don't think anybody was going to answer me, so not to offend any of our subscribers in Hungary, but the very first race in Hungary, there was a Grand Prix, not a Formula One. There was a Grand Prix in 1936. But what happened after that, the war came. So they went 50 years without a race in Hungary. And that was partly due to, they fell into the Eastern Bloc under basically Russian control. But one of the interesting things that I found out was my buddy, Bernie Ecclestone. He had been trying, first of all, he wanted the Berlin Wall to come down. And he was trying to get into the Soviet Union, and he'd been having talks for a couple of years. Brezhnev, who was in charge of the USSR or Soviet Union at the time, he loved cars and he loved speed. And they were just getting near a deal, and then he died. And then the new regime that came in 83 wanted nothing to do with the Western culture and everything. So Bernie was still trying to figure out, how do I get into the Eastern Bloc? Because he saw the Eastern Bloc as a stepping stone into Asia and the rest of Eastern Europe. His private jet was flying over one day, and he's asking somebody in the jet, where are we? And they said, this is above Hungary. And he goes, where's Hungary? And they kind of figured out, well, maybe we can have the race in Hungary, because he saw the beautiful hills and all that stuff. And so you can't just go to Hungary in those days in the Eastern Bloc. So he ended up working with the Hungarian embassy in Brazil, and finally got a call from Hungary, go over there. He visited, and boom, 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 they built a track in 7 months, and the one we're talking about. In 1986, they had their first race. That was 50 years after the previous one. So this was a huge win for Bernie. It was a huge win for Hungary too, because the first race they had 250,000 people, which was the record for attendance until 93 in Australia. And what it was a lot of the people that lived there at that first race, the tickets weren't expensive. And so they all went because there was nothing else going on there. And anyway, in 1989, the Berlin Wall came down, and I still wonder why it's still running today, and they're signed through 26. But I think a lot of it is that initial history and what Bernie did to get it there, and maybe Bernie was still around when they signed that contract. Anyways, that was now I know why we're going to Hungary. So fast forward to 2025, and here we are at the race, and the track is still suffering from a lot of the things that it suffered from for since '86, and it's really narrow. And one thing different from last week, where we had the rain, as we all talked about, and those fans did all slide down the hill on their ass into the bottom. Yeah. They went through 20 years in Hungary without any rain. And these two countries are right by each other. It's just, it could be the topography or whatever it is.
Hungary's got its own set of challenges, and for the drivers, like we said earlier, it's kind of deemed as Monaco without the walls. It's extremely narrow, very technical turns, setups are extremely important. It's a beast of its own, this place, and I don't know how the rookies are going to do here.
You never know how the rookies are going to do.
I'll tell you who is going to do really well here. Guys like Lewis Hamilton. I think he has 8 wins here. Mercedes and Ferrari historically do really well at this track. I think Red Bull bringing in the upgrades, they're going to do really well this week, but I think it's going to be tough on the rookies, especially the guys that haven't driven the circuit yet. But in terms of outcome, I still think you're going to see Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, Charles and Lewis on top, George, and I don't know about Antonelli as much, but the mid pack, it's really going to come down to qualifying this week.
It's all qualifying. It's not any different than Monaco.
Last year it was ranked 17th for overtake, so very little action in the midfield. It's going to be a different style of race this week. So now jumping over to fantasy, some big creators are talking about potentially using Limitless if you haven't already done that, and that is because you most likely will see an outcome with the top drivers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can guess which constructors are going to do well this week. But really it comes down to Delta. So might be a good week to use it. If you wait too long, then you have your top teams in your leagues and pools with a 2-2 build already and have 2 premium drivers, so you're really not gaining as much of an advantage. Other than that, another chip to potentially consider using this week would be the Final Fix. We saw what happened last week in Belgium, and Lewis Hamilton was able to climb through the pack, one driver of the day, got a ton of overtake points and stuff like that. So maybe if we see somebody like Charles or Lewis or George or Max not qualify at the top, we know they're starting at the back of the grid, and we still think these guys can overtake. It might be a good opportunity to use that. The no negative chip I don't think is going to come into play. As Craig said, there's very little rain. Maybe we see some mistakes from the rookies, but that's not really something that we can predict. So chips, I'm just kind of looking at Limitless as an option and potentially Final Fix 3 times, 2 times. I think we're going to save a little bit later.
So before we have you do a lap, I just want to, for all you podcast followers, Max Verstappen got enough points last week that he's going to finish in the top 3 drivers halfway through the racing season, which means no movement from Max Verstappen, be it anywhere. Ferrari, his plane trips, I guess, were for Nout, and he will be at Red Bull for the rest of the year.
And I think I saw something that stated George has signed to Mercedes until 2027, but things can change. So it looks like they were rumors just for now. But
as there always are.
There always seems to be some information and some breaking news over the summer break, which we are rolling into after Hungary.
So before we take a break for racing, you can't take a break from racing until you show us a lap.
Let's get right into it.
We are here in Hungary at the Hungaroring. Headed down the straight, DRS is open. Approaching turn 1. Braking hard at that 100-meter board. Aiming for that apex, cutting the corner here. Opening up that DRS. And headed up that hill into turn 2. Downshifting all the way to 3rd gear. And we're going to swing that car left. Into turn 3 nice and clean. Running up the hill here into turn 4. We're going to let the downforce do all of the work here. Trying to keep it on track, not running too wide. Turns 6 and 7 are tricky here, a very narrow section of the track. And again, just using the entire track here through 9 and 10. And swinging that car. Now we're headed downhill here for hard braking at turn 12. All the way down to 4th gear. Try to take a nice wide angle and running a little too deep into this corner. Up to 4th gear, last corner here. And just cutting the inside. Open up that DRS. And that's a lap in Hungary.
Thanks for the lap, Sean. I still say we got to do one in the rain. But I think now we have to move to fantasy because it's coming down to a crunch on what's going on. So show us.
So stay tuned. We're going to quickly cover budget versus points. We're going to be using our tool F1 Fantasy Tools, the budget builder, the point predictor section. It's really important. If these aren't tools you guys are using, you're definitely missing out because they are a tremendous help when it comes to picking your team and some insight onto the race week. So let's jump right into it, and we'll see you guys in just a few minutes. Welcome back to another F1 fantasy segment. Today we're going to keep it a little shorter than normal because the opportunity isn't quite there this week as there are in other weekends, especially in terms of building budget. So really it comes down to, this is the last race before the summer break. Where do you stand in your pool? Are we just fighting for points? Are we playing the long game here? And are we looking to build budget? For me, I certainly was for the first 10, 11 races of the season because I started so horribly. It was so important for me to build budgets so I could put Ferrari and McLaren in as my 2 premium constructors and have a strong premium driver, and then just slowly work my way through the B tier drivers to be able to upgrade them. And we've talked about it before. By the end of the season, we really want to get to that 2-2 build with 2 premium constructors, 2 premium drivers. We have a long way to go right now, and I know a lot of you do as well. There's a couple guys in my pool who have a little bit more money than us, but they're still not quite there yet either. And for them to even be able to do that, they'd have to swap Ferrari out for Mercedes. And in my opinion, that's not necessarily a great move right now. So we're safe. Right now, it's just about making money where we can and scoring points because we're still trying to win weeks. But we carried 3 transfers over from last week into this week. Now, you know, the first thing we always do is hop over to the fantasy budget builder section on the F1 Fantasy Tools website. So we're going to jump over there right now and we're going to just take a look. Piastri is still our number 1 premium driver. So we have that locked in. The 2 premium constructors right now, McLaren and Ferrari, we have that locked in. Looking at our tier B drivers, we have Hulk, which is great, but Gasly didn't perform for us last weekend, and we're looking to really move him out. But ideally, we'd like to have Stroll in, Behrman, Albon, Hulkenberg already as mentioned. Then we start kind of climbing a little bit lower in the list with Alonso and Sainz. And we do have Alonso, but realistically, if you can't get Hulkenberg, Stroll, Behrman, or Albon in, you're just trying to fight on and hope your guys don't lose you money. So taking this into consideration, we jump over to the F1 app. We drop Gasly. Who are we going to really put in? What we're thinking about doing is thinking 1 week down the road and maybe putting Lawson in because he can't go any lower than $4.5 million, and he's only going to go up from here. Gasly still has the potential to go down and lose us money, which is not what we're trying to do. So even though we have 3 transfers, most likely if we don't run a chip, we are going to get rid of him, and we're going to probably do something like this and stick with it and just kind of roll with this one for the weekend. We're not going to lose money on Lawson. Hopefully gain money on Alonso, Hulkenberg, Piastri, the 2 constructors. Bortoletto's a fight, and yeah, we'll see. But within the community, a lot of chatter right now is whether or not this is the last weekend to use Limitless. The thought process behind that is we're running a little longer into the season without using it. Eventually, good teams are going to have the 2-2 builds, and really all you're doing is having a 3 driver increase. So maybe it is a good week. We've talked about it being Monaco with walls. We have an idea that the good guys are probably going to finish top in qualifying, and that's also how the race is going to finish. So that being said, we are really considering Limitless this week, also because we don't have too many moves to make. So if we're going to really just leave our team in the background, which is what you do when you're using Limitless, maybe this is the week to do it. Ideally, I would still stick with my McLaren, Ferrari, Piastri combo. However, I would most likely have Lando Norris in there, which is a no-brainer. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton looked really good last week. And now is it Charles? Is it George? Is it George and Charles and not Lewis? Really, that's what it's going to come down to. But as always, we always watch FP1, 2, and 3, which we're going to do again this week. And we're going to make our decision. But this is going to be really one of those races where we're picking our teams right before quali because I don't really know what the best thing to do is right now. And it's actually a tricky week. So other than that, maybe your final fix, if Leclerc or Verstappen don't qualify good, we kind of want to swap them in last minute so they can hopefully do what Lewis Hamilton did last week, climb through the pack, get those overtakes, get driver of the day, and that might be worth it. But other than that, please feel free to drop your teams down below. Would love to have a look at them. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And don't forget our budget builder tool. It's incredibly useful. And ultimately, good luck to y'all. And we'll jump right back into the video.
Okay, Sean, thanks. Like I said before, keep what you like and get rid of what you don't like, but at least it's available to you to see. And if you work off of this, it does make it easier in selecting those B guys, because he will be able to show you which guys, or he has shown you, which guys are on the cusp of earning money, and you need to earn money to win this thing.
And if this is not your first year, you know that finishing the season with a 2-2 build, how important that is to have 2 premium constructors and 2 premium drivers. It really sets the difference in winning one of these
And we're
things.
only halfway. So
And we're only halfway.
Everybody has a chance.
Everybody has a chance. So, guys, thanks again for tuning in. We have a lot of fun making these videos. If you enjoy them, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to us. But looking forward to this one, and we will see you all in a few weeks.
We're in Hungary. Let's get some goulash.